Can you imagine being born so small that you could sleep in the shell of a walnut or float down a stream on a lily pad? We can all agree that being small has its challenges. The world is not always accommodating, and often others who are bigger or older think they know what's best. But no matter our size, we must practice kindness to others, especially when one another is in need. This is a lesson a tiny maiden named Thumbelina learned from her tiny life and the enormous journey she took to finally find where she felt at home. Along the way, she met many creatures who thought they knew what was best for her, though not many asked what she wanted or needed. Thumbelina was born of a woman's wishes and a little fairy's magic, and she only stood about an inch tall. One evening in their home, an ugly toad hopped through the window and caught sight of Thumbelina. She decided the tiny maiden would make a fine wife for her toad son, and she stole Thumbelina away to her marsh home. There, she placed Thumbelina on a lily pad in the middle of the stream so that the tiny being could not escape. The next morning, the toad and her son went to see Thumbelina and tell her of her new life. When they left, Thumbelina wept. She did not want to marry the toad and live in the marsh. Luckily, the little fish of the stream heard her cries, and they agreed. They could not allow such a beautiful creature such an unhappy life. So they chewed away the stem of the lily and sent her floating down the stream, away from the toads and the marsh. As she floated along the stream, just when she felt out of the toad's reach, a beetle flew by and spotted her and snatched her off the lily pad and flew her away to his tree. He admired her beauty, but when the other beetles came to see Thumbelina, they gasped at her differences and called her ugly because she didn't look like the other lady beetles. So the beetle flew her back to the ground and bid her farewell. He no longer wanted her company because she was different. Thumbelina spent the rest of the summer and autumn wandering the forest alone. But when the weather began to turn towards winter, she knew she needed to find a warmer shelter. She happened upon the threshold of a field mouse, and she kindly welcomed the poor child in, so long as she kept the house tidy and sang songs to her. The field mouse's neighbor, a mole, visited and developed a great affection towards Thumbelina. He dug a hole between the two dens so that they could visit often in the winter. While passing through the tunnel with the mole and the field mouse one day, they saw a dead bird, a swallow. The field mouse and the mole did not care for birds, and they did not show any pity for the creature. But Thumbelina felt sorrow at the sight of the bird. One evening, the Thumbelina slipped away to the tunnel to see the bird, and she found that he was not dead, but just shocked from the winter cold. She brought him blankets and down to warm him until spring, and he enjoyed her company and kindness, because without it he would have died. When spring came, the swallow was ready to fly away and offered to take Thumbelina, but she was set to marry the mole, and she feared the field mouse would be cross if she left. So she wished him well, and he flew away. As autumn faded closer to winter, the mole and Thumbelina's wedding date was set. Though Thumbelina did not want to marry the mole, he hated the sun and summer and all the things Thumbelina adored. She wished the swallow would fly back and take her away, and her wish came true. One evening, while Thumbelina was watching one of her last sunsets, the swallow appeared. This time, she was happy to fly away with him. In the swallow's home in the south, a small man appeared where the swallow set Thumbelina down. It was the Flower King, and he was enchanted by Thumbelina's beauty. He asked her to be his queen and rule over the flower angels with him, and she agreed. Finally, Thumbelina found a place where she felt happy. Thumbelina had experienced challenges finding her happiness, but those difficulties did not stop her from being kind, especially when it mattered most. Though the creatures who took advantage of her small stature did not damper that soul of Thumbelina. Their purpose was to make themselves happy and did not consider Thumbelina's happiness or wants. Ultimately, Thumbelina's kind nature and the care she provided the swallow in the time of his great need released her from such an unhappy situation. It's important to always share kindness with others. You never know when it will be returned and the difference it'll make.